Is everybody bashful? Who goes first? I'm sorry.
I might come in later.
You weren't finished.
Thanks, Jay.
How do you think you did up there, Governor?
I think it was okay both ways. I don't think either one of us struck out, or neither one of us hit a home run in my judgment.
Well, you seem like going kind of easy on it. You didn't go on the offensive.
Well, I tried to be myself. So.
Governor, you talked about how he and his party like to say no, no, no. Do you feel that's something that resonates with voters, and is that something that you can maybe close the gap on with this?
Well, I don't know that I need to close the gap. I think we've closed the gap, quite frankly. At least according to our own polling. It's at least a toss-up race. In fact, our most recent polling has me up as much as 4 points. So I don't think I needed to close the gap. I think the gap has been closed. And I think, you know, the battle is joined. But what I tried to point out is if Mr. Kasich had had his way, there would have been no stimulus bill. He's criticized it. So that means that we wouldn't have invested in the job-creating activities that we've invested in. There would have been no auto bailout. That means that you know, the auto jobs here in the Toledo area and across the state of Ohio, and the supply chain jobs perhaps would not have existed today. So I think these are significant issues, because I think they not only speak to a particular public policy, but I think they speak to a particular philosophy. And I think my opponent has an extreme philosophy that is devoid of common sense, and I think his leadership would be devastating to the state of Ohio. I don't want to say that, you know, to be unkind. I just deeply believe it, that what he believes regarding the role of government, his desire to take our Department of Development and turn it over to 12 CEOs, have no caps on their salary, give them bonuses that would not be made public, using public tax dollars. That's troublesome to me. But that's just one example of a philosophy that I think is an extreme philosophy outside the mainstream. And I think it would be harmful to Ohio. That's one of the reasons I'm fighting as hard as I'm fighting to win this election.
Governor, you mentioned more blue-collar jobs. What do you plan to do for white-collar jobs for recent college graduates?
Oh, well, obviously investing in education is essential for those who hope to aspire to white-collar jobs. And we are investing in education, and we're doing that in a way that was not done during the preceding years before I became governor. Just let me remind you that before I became governor, Ohio had experienced 10 straight years of tuition increases, which averaged 9% each year for 10 straight years. A higher education was becoming increasingly unaffordable for Ohio young people. And we put a stop to that. We are reinvesting in higher education. And as a result, we've got over 65,000 more students in college today. So we're also investing in the jobs of the future. Our energy policy, obviously, our investments in the biomedical field, our investments in the aerospace industry. Those are all professions that attract so-called white-collar employees, and so we're doing that, and it's having an effect. That's why the Federal Reserve out of Philadelphia said that we have the 6th fastest growing state economy in America. That's something to be proud of. That means that 44 other states are doing less well than we are.
Why are your higher education plans better than your opponents?
I don't know what his higher education plan is, quite frankly. I don't know that he's ever talked about a higher education plan. But I can tell you that we have a 10-year strategic plan for higher education in Ohio. It is resulting in more of our people going to school in community colleges and our great universities. We have brought about a collaboration between our institutions. We've established the University System of Ohio with very definite goals going forward, using metrics to measure our progress. I don't know that Mr. Kasich has spent any time talking about higher education. If he has, it certainly hasn't come to my attention. So I don't know that he has. I don't think that he has.
Governor, the congressman said the campaign has said he doesn't support repealing the energy standards by 2025. He's concerned about price increases as a result. Do you think he would repeal those standards,
Well,
or what do you think?
You know, I don't know. I sat beside him at the editorial board meeting at the Dayton Daily News, and I mean, you could go back and look at the exact words that he used. I think the Dayton Daily News published them. But he indicated that that would be something that he would consider if it was going to cost business. But the fact is that we do have a cap. We anticipated that may be an occurrence. We didn't think it would be, but we put in a cap to prevent that from happening. But the fact that he would talk about something as important to the state of Ohio, with so little knowledge of what he was talking about, I find troublesome. That's one of the things that I find troublesome about Mr. Kasich. You know, he brought up the fact that the Cleveland Plain Dealer endorsed him. Well, I read that endorsement, and I'm not sure I would want it. I wouldn't want someone saying we're going to endorse Ted Strickland with trepidation. I wouldn't want someone, referring to me as a person who may talk myself off a cliff, or sort of refer to me as the Red Bull candidate. I've tried to bring stability and mature decision-making to the governor's office, and I think oftentimes, Mr. Kasich takes positions, makes statements without having any depth of knowledge about what he's talking about.
He stepped up his criticism recently, and again focused tonight on taxes, and said, you will definitely raise taxes, he won't. Do you think that message is
I think he's
getting
being
out?
irresponsible. I've said that any chief executive that is willing to make ironclad statements when they do not know what circumstances they may face, I think is not a wise person. And I've been unwilling to do that. I've said that raising taxes is not something that I think is wise at this time, that our economy is in a fragile recovery. But I think he's being irresponsible in his position, and not only is he being irresponsible in dealing with this matter, but he's even contemplating making things worse by beginning phasing out our state income tax without any information coming from him as to what he would do to replace those resources. And as I said tonight, I am convinced that if he were successful, it would drive up the local property tax, and it would drive up local government taxes. You can't spend money you don't have, and I think he's acting irresponsibly and taking irresponsible positions when he says what he says.